I feel like where we're at right now is a turning point. We need people to be courageous and to stand up and decide what is good in a classroom for these children. We need a back to basics approach, and I hear it every night when I talk to parents. They're interested in seeing an environment where academics is the main thing. They don't want to see the political and the social ideology that's invaded.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Our Watch. I am Tim Thompson. Excited to talk to you guys today about another person running for school board right here in Southwest Riverside County. So excited to bring this person on the show. Jen Wiersma is running in Temecula. Jen, what a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm really excited about your campaign. I'm excited because I see the energy you bring. I see the excitement when people get around you and they hear you speak. They're excited. They immediately are jumping on board because you have a clear, concise message it doesn't matter where you're at. It's very easy to jump on board with what you've got going on. Before we talk about your campaign, I want the audience to know a little bit more about you personally. Who are you? Family life, that kind of stuff. Tell us about Jen Wiersma.
So I've lived in the Temecula Valley for about 17 years with my family. Derek and I have been married for 25 years, and together we've got 3 kids that are 17, 19, and 20. They've been through the schools here at TVUSD. I love the field of education. My mom's a retired teacher. My sister is an administrator, and I'm an event specialist. So within the world of academics, I do field trips, I do grad night, I work on ASB with teachers, the field trip academic side of things. So I have a love for education. I enjoy this community and have met so many wonderful teachers, coaches, pastors. And this is my time in life where I'm almost an empty nester, right? I have a senior. He's my baby. So I'm done at this point. And I feel like with all the insight that I have with my family, I'm ready to step up into a position like school board. I absolutely love pouring into families and parents, and it's my turn to give back. So as I go into the communities and talk to people, I want parents to know that my whole goal is to partner with them and to protect their kids and to advocate for the things we know are right as a school board. And so I'm excited about that opportunity, and it's what brings me to the table today.
Well, I'm glad that it's brought you to the table. You've decided to run. You're running with a lot of enthusiasm, but what was it that drove you to run? I mean, I hear the empty nester thing. I could totally identify with that, but something drove you to do it. What was that?
I think as I watched what happened through COVID and the fact that so many of the parents were deflected and not heard, that moved me to a point of wanting to do something. I feel like parents have been ignored, that their voices haven't been heard. And for me, I went through cancer a couple of years ago, so I am a warrior, went through chemo and surgery and all of those things. And it was during that time that I really wanted to find some new purpose. And because I love this community, because I believe in education and want to give back, I know I can be the principled leader that people can trust. I have a high level of integrity and a work ethic, and I feel like where we're at right now is a turning point. We need people to be courageous and to stand up and decide what is good in a classroom for these children. We need a back to basics approach, and I hear it every night when I talk to parents. They're interested in seeing an environment where academics is the main thing. They don't want to see the political and the social ideology that's invaded. And I hear their hearts and I feel the same. Our schools need to be about the academics. And so as a school board candidate, I will advocate for that and have the parents back every time.
And I know that the parents are going to greatly appreciate that. When we look at the various candidates running, you've got 3 others running in the trustee areas around you, and it's kind of neat to see you all come together and run because it's none of you are alike. Each of you are so individual. You're so unique, and coming together is really been neat to watch. What would you say defines your campaign?
I think for me my campaign is going to be one of mediation and diplomacy. I know what I believe as truth, and that's that I want to be an advocate for all families and students. I feel like I've got that communication ability. So many times you go to a board meeting and people want to go scorched earth for 3 minutes. I believe in digging deeper than that, and I'm going to do the work. If we have quarterly forums for parents where they can come together and we can truly figure out how to be transparent and to present issues that we're facing and get the heartbeat of what they're feeling, that's going to strengthen us as a board. Danny is amazing with contracts, mediation as a business owner. He brings that to the table. We've got Dr. K, who is a professor and understands logic and has dealt with scientific things that he's looked at as far as safety for campuses and the 5G issues. Jason's a finance guy, which is wonderful. I'm that mama bear that comes saying, I know we need to make sure that the kids are our number one interest. We need to make sure it's about reading, writing, arithmetic, cursive. I've talked to moms who really worry about the electronics coming into their homework and it distracting them from doing what they need to do. They want that pencil to paper approach. They want a fair and equitable way of doing homework where it doesn't send them off into a world of technology, which we know is here to stay, but they want that back to basic approach. And I will always be the one to advocate for that.
Right. Yeah, we look at what's going on with parents' rights. You know, you talked about over the last 2 years and what's gone on. You saw that many of the parents didn't have a voice or just were ignored in many ways. You want to get back to the parents being the ones that are heard. One of the frustrations I've had as a pastor and just a concerned citizen is I go to the school board and they tell me, well, there's nothing I could do about it. It's up in Sacramento. So I fly up to Sacramento. I'm talking there and they say, oh, you got to go back and talk to your school board. It's local control. And I feel like a ping pong ball going back and forth, back and forth. What I want is to feel that the school board is representing me as a parent, as a grandparent, as a guardian. I want my voice to matter to the school board. And I see that that's something you want to bring back to the table.
Absolutely. And I think creative thinking is imperative. You saw the board kind of say, we have to hold the status quo. Our hands are tied. So during COVID, you watched this, but parents would put stacks of paper in front of them that talked about the different districts around California that were opening up, that were giving people choices. And so the parents felt deflected. And I think the board did feel like their hands were tied. But that's why we need fresh perspective to say we need to go outside the box in our thinking and make sure we're always advocating for the students and the families, understanding we have California state law to deal with, but we're going to go the extra mile. An example being at Great Oak High School, and I love Great Oak. 2 kids graduated from there, love Great Oak, but they brought in a speaker for an assembly, and cousin Danny, he can dance, he's got a great message, but in one of the assemblies, he ended up sexualizing his audience and making inappropriate comments. When I heard about that, my question was, who vetted him? Because as an event planner, I'll take 30 seconds, look at social media and kind of know where somebody is. And in looking at that, I knew there could be some controversy. So my next question was, what was the contract about? And as I looked at that, I noticed there was no parameters or protocol about behavior, about what's acceptable and what's not. So you had an experienced board, a board-approved vendor, a school that has wonderful people there who are experienced that missed that. It wasn't in the contract. So as an event coordinator who has that life experience, that's just one example where I would come to the table and say, how can we do it differently? How can we be more discerning and wise so that the kids are protected and we're doing what's right? That's just one of the issues. Experience during COVID produced nothing but frustration for our parents because I think the board could have handled it differently and they didn't. So we need new leadership.
So you mentioned safety for the kids. What would be your vision for safety and security, not just for the kids, but for the kids and for the staff as well?
So for safety and security, I've chosen to think out of the box. And I think that principled leaders always make an important goal to talk to mentors, to people who have already done it right. And that's something I would do as a board member. So I was referred to Mark Clark, who heads up the police department at Valverde Unified. And what's unique about them is they have a community policing system where these officers get to know the kids. So they'll go to homecoming and they'll dance with them, but then they'll sit down and talk about vaping. They will have a student court where they have accountability and ask the students what they would do for different situations citations pertaining to consequences, but then they give positive citations as well. So the whole goal is they've created this culture where the kids know these officers have their back. They're there for them as role models and mentors. And so from that standpoint, the parents love them. This man has agreed to help us, to bring something to TVUSD that's very similar. It would be a program where these officers spend time with the kids. We do need to address other logistical issues. Some of the campuses are too wide open. I've had parents ask me, can we do a one-point entry? What can we do to run more drills? Because we haven't done that up to this point. So there are layers that we've taken care of, but we need to continue to add to the layers, and we need to do it with people like Mark Clark, who can help us get through that, sort through the budget, the manpower, and then put it into place so that for TVUSD, we can trust that our kids are going to be safer in the years to come.
What an awesome thing. I love that idea of creating that mentorship environment where there's a respect, a love, an appreciation for law enforcement. I think that's outstanding. You've been going door to door. That's a big part of your campaign, is knocking on doors, talking to the parents. You care what they have to say. So as you're knocking on the doors, what would you say is the top things? Like, I'm sure there's all sorts of concerns that parents have, but there's got to be one or two or maybe even three things that rise to the top. What are the concerns, like these major concerns from the parents?
Well, as we've just discussed, safety is always at the top. Parents are very interested in making sure their kids are doing well in school and that we're addressing the basics. That is the one thing that we keep coming back to, the reading, writing, and arithmetic. If we're 45th in academics overall as a state in the country, if we're 50th in literacy, these are things parents want us to address. So that's important. They want equitable assignments off the iPad. I had one dad talk to me about critical race theory and say that his kid definitely had questions on his homework that pertained to that. And he said, Jen, I would much rather have my kid look at how important his character is versus the color of the skin with the student next to him. Anytime you have in a group of oppressed and an oppressor and you're teaching these things and it creates angst and division and bitterness, that does not do well in a classroom. That's not what we want to teach.
Right.
We don't want to avoid issues like slavery and what we've gone through as a country, but you need to remember we must teach it in looking at all of world history. And what's so interesting to me is that every skin color has both been a slave and owned a slave. And so when you look at that and where we are in the world today, trafficking, slavery still exists.
Right.
Look at what we've done as a country. Look at how we've eradicated a lot of that. We live in a place where these kids need to be encouraged to go above and beyond, to study hard, and to know that they're not going to be held back. They're going to be held back only if we get mixed up in these conversations where kids walk away feeling like they're bitter and have a chip on their shoulder. This dad, who is a diverse he has a diverse family. He said, this is not what I want as a veteran. And I know other parents don't either.
Right.
So that is really important. Again, the social and the political ideology that's seeping in, I think we need to take it out of the classroom and make sure we're protecting kids and their ability to learn. If there's chaos and activism, it pushes out that time that they need to study what's important and to go where they're supposed to go as students.
Absolutely.
That's how families feel. And I support them, and I will always advocate for that.
Yeah. Well, I support you. I know our audience is going to love supporting you. How can they connect with you? How can they give to you financially? You're going to need money to run your campaign. How can they get involved walking the precincts with you? What can they do?
I think the first thing they could do is realize that we need to be people of courage. Aristotle said that courage is the virtue through which all other virtues come. And so I have a bracelet that says fearless. And what I want to encourage people to do, whether you're parents, whether you're teachers listening, administrators, families, we need to be people of courage and make strong decisions right now. If people want to help me, I need them to come knock on doors. That is the heartbeat of where my campaign is. If you go to Jen, number 4, TVUSD, you can sign up. You can email me with questions. You can donate. You can hit the volunteer button and tell me what you're willing to do. But this is the time and the place in 2022 where they can step up like they never have before. I had people at the door absolutely shocked that I am talking about school board, and they're thankful when I walk away that I've spent the time to educate them. So people, we need to have courage. That is what I want to tell folks. Pray for the situation. Know that I will always have parents back, and please jump aboard. There's plenty of work to be done, and I will work and work. They're not going to outwork my heart and hustle.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I've told people, and I want people to believe that. So I'll work up until November 7th, every moment that I can, to take my message to people. I will have parents' backs.
Awesome. I know you will. I'm excited for the win that I know is going to happen in November 8th. You're awesome. We're going to support you however we can. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. I want to thank you all for joining us this episode of Our Watch. We'll see you next time right here with Our Watch with Tim Thompson. God bless you.